My name is Paola Harris. I'm an Italian-American journalist. I've worked in Europe for most of my career. I worked in Rome, out of Rome, Italy for about 15 years. I started doing a lot of my work in 1979 with J. Allen Hynek, the astronomer, doing his Italian translations. And then when I moved to Italy, I started writing for Italian magazines and books, and I've written 3 books. I interview witnesses, mostly military, intelligence people, astronauts, people in the field, and then I give my word-for-word interviews to them and they print it. It's a part of the disclosure movement. I used to work with lights in the sky, the place they appeared, how long they appeared. And after having done many, many, many interviews with top-level people that have spoken about being involved in the phenomenon, I realized that the alien presence on Earth is here. So the absolute implication, sociological and political, for the alien presence here has turned into what's called the exopolitics movement. The official definition is a scholarly scientific study of the alien presence on Earth and its sociological as well as political implications for the human beings that live on this planet, and the study of that, which means it's an intense research study. If you take it that suppose the alien presence on Earth, now that doesn't mean in the spaceships, that means aliens walking among us, and the idea that in our history there could have been alien intervention in our archaeological history, in our regular history. If you take that as being a principle, then what happens is there comes a time when we need to tell the people. And there are a lot of agencies that don't think that the people can handle it. But we're coming along a new generation that has already seen science fiction films, movies. We have a new media generation that is showing sightings. And there's a group of people in exopolitics that think, yes, it's time to tell the truth, that the people can handle it. You know, on a personal level, I don't know what's inside those craft. I know there are craft. I know those craft have shut down nuclear missiles. I know they're seen over bases, military bases. They were seen over O'Hare Airport in 2007, one craft that just sat there. So we know they're craft. I think we don't know exactly who it is that's doing the visiting, number one. And I don't know if some of that back-engineered technology is our technology. So we don't know what we're seeing. If it's our craft that's up in the sky that's very technologically engineered, or if it's alien craft, or interplanetary, or interdimensional. So it's very complicated. I don't think there's one truth, but I do think that this subject matter needs to be studied by other people other than volunteers on weekends. Well, thank God that I was in Europe, because I don't think I get as much information here, and it's not as censored. In Europe, there's a news show, and in fact, I want to talk about the flotilla case in Mexico. The announcer in Rome, when he showed that, said, "These are just like the lights in Hezbollah." So he had already done his research. This was the announcer on the news show. He knew about Hezbollah. So Europeans have a much more serious approach to studying this phenomenon. Often in America, we know in Roswell, sometimes in these conferences, it becomes a little bit of a festival atmosphere, where I find that the conferences in Europe are filled with scientists, astronomers, people who are very curious and very concerned. I would like to believe that we could invite serious scientists into this arena, because it will be changing the paradigm of science as we know it. We know that these craft are not traveling with fossil fuel gas, that there is a technology behind them, that maybe this technology could help the Earth and renewable fuels. If we could get scientists just to use that motivation, to look at the technology behind the craft, then maybe we could invite science to come and change the paradigm of transportation, of electromagnetism, of all these really advanced technologies. But we need to invite them. I think too many are afraid of ridicule. Too many. I have encountered many that are curious but are not willing to go public. We're changing times now, and for the sake of our children, our grandchildren, and the future, some scientists are going to have to take the risk. The media is more open. I see a change in the media in the last 10 years. The job of the media is just to report the story and not make any comments. And I see the media, because I lived in Italy, doing just that. They report a sighting or they report a situation, and then they leave it up to the person that's watching the TV to decide. And I think the media, in a lot of ways, is much more open in Europe. As I mentioned before, the announcer in Italy that compared the Mexican flotilla case to Hezbollah. So as a journalist, I'm hoping the media also has courage. It is known that often, especially in America, the main alien image we have is of the gray. In fact, it's stamped on T-shirts and magnets and every other kind of commercial product. But it's just recently, for those that read Timothy Good's Alien Bases and the work of Timothy Good, it's just recently that we're learning that a lot of the races, and I was told by Colonel Philip Corso that there were 57 different races categorized in the Pentagon. So it is not just the gray. That there were many that look like us, that are human-looking, and they're not all Pleiadian, but they are people that come from other places that live either in underwater bases. I know that's a little bit difficult to believe, but live among us. That we're coming upon a time in history where these people are trying to interact with humans. The particular case that was presented at this conference that I've researched is off the coast of Pescara, where a group of aliens that would look like us were present and talked to big top-level people in the government, cardinals of the Vatican, Console Pergo, a series of people. The name of the book is called Mass Contacts. It's by Stefano Bergia. The case it was in Pescara, which is on the Adriatic coast of Italy. The date was 1957. They remained on Earth with these humans for a while, and then they left the Earth because they said that there was too much of a volatile, aggressive nature here. That case could never have been talked about in 1957, or 60, or 70. But now in 2009, more and more stories are going to be coming out of Italy, Brazil, in other places in the planet about human-type aliens that have contacted us. And I think that it's the timing. The timing is that we're looking at populations of interplanetary travelers, which could appear as perfectly normal, that have come to give us certain messages. And the main message has been, in all my research, that we need to be very careful about our nuclear capacity, because it's at a very critical stage in our evolution. And it doesn't take somebody that's extremely intelligent to understand that these sightings are over nuclear bases, but we have one accident like Chernobyl and other accidents that we've had to cause a major problem in human race. And these aliens have also said that anytime we deal with the nuclear explosions, and we have done very many nuclear explosions on the atoll of Bikini Atoll in the Pacific, the French, the Indian, the Americans have been doing testing one explosion after another. That those explosions are not just tests, but they have an effect on other dimensions where these people live, where these beings live. And the nuclear situation is probably the biggest message we've gotten from these people. Part of the transition of the institutions, it's very curious that on May 13th of 2008, in the Osservatore Romano, in the Vatican official newspaper, Padre Funes, or Father Funes, a Jesuit priest who has now become the head astronomer of the Vatican Observatory, that in Castel Gandolfo and that in Arizona, he's the head astronomer, said three things. The first thing he said was that the ETs, or the extraterrestrials, are our brother and sister. And I don't think he's referring to the little gray beings. He's referring to people who look like us, if they're our brother and sister. The second thing he said was that it is not against the Catholic religion to believe in extraterrestrial life or other inhabited planets. But the most important and curious thing was the third thing that he said, because for me the third statement is a statement of doctrine. And he said that Jesus did not need to die on the cross for the extraterrestrials because they were not born with original sin. Only humans were born with original sin. Now, when I heard that, it's not something he needed to say because the first two statements are enough. When I heard that, I realized that it is possible that the Vatican is putting in place a certain doctrine for the future. The fact that Jesus Christ did not have to die for a race that is much more evolved than humanity. If the Catholics are given permission to believe this, then what it's setting the way for, and with their observatory, I'm wondering what they're watching for, is it's setting the way to kind of transition into a kind of a cosmic religion, a religion that accepts extraterrestrials. And this isn't just theory when it's printed in the Vatican newspaper. It's setting the way for a cosmic kind of religion that will fit into a kind of new paradigm. And in the date, the 13th of May, which is the Madonna of Fatima anniversary, is very significant too, because a lot of these pronouncements are coming out on symbolic dates for the faithful. I don't think the alien presence is going to become official until society has changed its structure. This society, if we look at it right now, is slowly changing the structure with the economy, the major institutions, and so forth. I was told that this disclosure can't come about until the old is gone, because it is going to present a new paradigm, a new opportunity for humans. And it's a new way of living. But you can't have that involved in a planet that is based on an economic situation that is ruling, a military situation that is ruling, and also many religions that are fighting. So I think that the disclosure is not going to come until some of those institutions are changed or crumble or whatever, and then there is room for a new paradigm, a new world view. The sad part about it is there's a lot of us walking around that have that new world view already and need to wait until everything is in place for the reality. But the reality is not a dangerous one. The reality is very positive for our future. Well, when we get off the idea of fighting over oil and fossil fuels, it will maybe save the planet and present us with an opportunity to become citizens of the cosmos and of the universe instead of citizens of one country.